Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me start the Facebook Live one as well. Good morning, everyone. It's a Monday morning again, and it's a dose of sunshine, opportunity to shine brightly. We are having that start of the spring. It's really beautiful down here in Sydney. I enjoyed waking up. It was 9 degrees when I woke up. But it didn't feel like it, so it actually felt quite warm. So, but I thoroughly enjoyed my weekend. What about you? Did you enjoy your weekend? Would love to hear in the chat on both the Facebook Live and on the webinar. I think I'm going to sneeze. Good morning, Dell. I've got 6 people in here and I don't know who they are. Let's see. Oh, hi, Ali. Hey, Anna, Christine, Diane, and Rebecca. Good morning, good morning. So I've got a little bit of a croaky throat this morning. So this morning I'm going to be talking about angels and guides. So let's get straight into it. It wasn't it's not something that I think much about, but as I was creating this slideshow, I realized that I've had quite a few experiences with angels and guides, and I had a revelation, or someone came to me while I was putting these slides together. So I'll share that as we go along. So good morning, everyone. Would love to see on Facebook Live whether, excuse me, I've got a croaky voice. I would love to see where you're watching from and what sort of morning it is for you, whether you enjoyed your weekend. For those that are new to this, Facebook Live, you don't get to see my slides. My slides are on my webinar. So if you're interested in finding out more and wanting to see the slides, just put yes, please, and we will send you the registration link so that you can jump onto the actual webinar. So let's get started. So as I always do, I'm slightly getting sick of saying this, let alone everybody else. Beautiful morning in Melbourne. That's so lovely to hear, Helen, because there's so many negative things coming out of Melbourne. So it's lovely to hear that you're having a beautiful morning from Melbourne. It's fantastic. Good morning, Terry. You're in there too. I just saw a love heart from you. Give me some love hearts and likes. That would be fantastic. So I'm just going to share, for those that are brand new here and have never, I've never had the pleasure of meeting you. My name is Elizabeth Eleanor. I am an energy. Oh my gosh, did you hear that? It sounded like a robot. Good morning, Manisha. I am an energy healer and energy mentor. So I support women in general to discover more of who they are and to find their connection with their higher self so that their life flows and it doesn't get bogged down with blocks and vibrations that are causing them to not be able to flow with their life and having bumps in their system. So I have been a remedial massage therapist for 20 plus years. I'm going to say plus because I've got to work it out. And 18 years I've been working with energy. It was a big journey, and actually as I go along, I'm going to share some of the stuff with you because I didn't realize until I started doing this slide, some of the experiences. I've had quite a few experiences with angels and guides. I worked for 7 years doing past life regression every single weekend, part of a woman's book that she was documenting it all. And it was a really intense journey of stripping all of, it is a beautiful morning, Manisha, isn't it, in Sydney? Stripping all of the vibrations, or, I say all of the vibrations, the lower vibrations. However, we are constantly going through stuff. So, we're constantly having to look at ourselves and work on ourselves, and things come up at particular times. So, for example, I've just gone through a massive journey with my mum. Now, you'd think after 7 years of intense past life regression that wouldn't be a challenge, but I feel that certain things come up in certain patterns at certain times. You can't jump to it when it's not ready. And so I have stripped a lot of stuff from my childhood with my mum. However, with the process I've just gone through with her, new stuff came up, and my auntie just told me something that, you know, shifted me again and made me realize another part of who I am and why I function the way I do. And so, you know, various things, all in God's timing, isn't it, right? Good morning, Lorna. Lovely to have you on here too. It seems to be a popular topic. So let's just jump straight into it. So the first thing I want to share with you is you have a team of master souls. We've all got guides. There's a whole group of people, or, you know, spiritual guides that support us. I'm just going to check the chats. I'm sure that there's an easier way to do this. Good morning, Luann. Good morning, Rebecca. I just had a dozy of, yeah. It comes up. It does come up in divine timing. You know, we need to let go of being perfect, and especially spiritual people thinking that we've got this spiritual understanding, and yet I believe that we're here to keep learning and to keep growing. And I know a lot of people that are on here, Lorna being one of them, that knows that and understands that we're just on this journey, right? A lot of people on here are getting that and understanding that. You wouldn't resonate to me if you didn't have that understanding. So we've got a team of master souls. So one of the things about the dichotomy of life is that we're all one vibration. So not one vibration, let me rephrase that. We are all one energy. And yet, through that process, there's an individual aspect to us. That's what they call the ego, right? That part of us that's pinpointed as me as Elizabeth and you as your name. That's what creates us to be individual and in the oneness at the same time. And so that creates, there's hierarchy. There's so much complexity in that. And there's spiritual guides, and there's angels, and there's archangels, and all of those things. And so I personally have only just really started working or listening or hearing my spiritual guides, because I've often worked directly with archangels. In those 7 years that I was working past life regression, I was working directly with Archangel Michael, with a lot of people do. And that's the other thing, that it's the energy of a being is not physical anymore, so it's not individual. It's individual, but it has a wider span and a wider ability to work with more people, right? I've actually unexplained that well. There's so much more to that, but I'll get to it. So we've got a personal team just for us. We live in an octave above our rational mind. So when we're in our mind, we often can't connect with our guides and angels and spiritual beings, because it's not the same vibration. It's a different octave. It's a lower vibration, our mind. So depending on whether all of them, everyone is still evolving. And so they're learning just like we are, and especially our spiritual guides, they are learning just like we are. So everyone has the ability to interact with the non-physical. It just depends on a personal belief, whether you can or not. Actually, let me rephrase that. Whether you're aware that you can or not. Because I personally believe, I asked someone once, where do you think your thoughts come from? And thoughts, you know, there's a whole thing I could do around thoughts, because I believe some of them are our individual thoughts, and then, you know, you have something drop in, and that could be a guide, you know, something else, some other realm, and I'll tell you more about that. So it depends on your personal belief as to whether you're aware that you're connecting with your angels and guides or not. So the first steps to connecting is to relax and breathe, and that will gently raise your vibration. And so you have to be in the vibrational vicinity so you can realize the impulse and mingle with that energy. So you've got to have an intention to ask or to clear your mind so that you can connect. And depending on your practice or your ability, sometimes that can take seconds, and other times people need to go into the practice of meditation and releasing their mind and just relaxing into the vibration and being able to hear or feel or experience the vibration of their spiritual guides or their angels or anything like that. So then you just have the intention, you call them in. You basically just call in your angels or guides. And as I've said in previous webinars, trust, faith, and intention are really, really big parts of that. Having complete trust that you can do it, having the faith that there'll be a connection, and just putting the intention out that this is what you're after. It sounds so simple. I know our mind can get caught up in the reality of it. I call it spiritual Tinder. I love that, Lorna. I've never thought of that. In a way, that's really interesting, because when you get to that process of being able to connect and you know, practice or get the awareness that you're doing that, then you can talk to whoever, right? So that's what Lorna's talking about, spiritual Tinder. Being aware that just calling and asking with intention to speak to someone is again all you really have to do. And flick the unnecessary away, absolutely. So I remember when I was massaged, when I first started doing all of this, I remember, you know, the trust and the faith is really important. So when I was massaging, I started having the experiences of beings coming to me. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. And I was massaging this woman, and she had to reschedule the massage because she'd gone to a funeral, right? So I go to her house to, you know, knowing that she'd been to this funeral, and all the way through I'm getting this really tall, thin guy telling me to say to her that he was there, right? And so my head is going, oh, I know that she's just been to a funeral from a loved one, a family member, and I think it was her uncle or something, or a brother-in-law, I think, or something like that. And then, so I'm going, oh, you know, like my mind's playing tricks with me and saying, you know, that this is the guy, right? Anyway, kept on going on and on and on. Tell her that I'm here. Tell her I'm here. I get to the end of the massage. I'm actually packing up the massage table, and it's coming so fast that I know that if I don't say anything, it's going to hassle me all the way home, right? And I'm scared crapless to actually say something to this woman because it wasn't in my realm, right? So anyway, I finally bit the bullet and I said, you know, your brother-in-law, I think it was her brother-in-law, was he really tall and thin? And she said, no, he was actually the opposite. He was actually a bit short, and he was, you know, chubby, and I just laughed at myself. You know, I hear you go, like, you know, my mind was playing tricks and carrying on. And she said, why did you ask that? And I said, oh, there was this tall, thin guy here, and he was saying, you know, good morning, Melissa. He was telling me to tell you that he was here. And she looked at me a bit strange, and she said, just wait a minute. And she went into her bedroom and she came out with a photo And the photo was this tall, thin guy with a hat on, which is what I'd seen. And she said, "Is this him?" And I said, "Yeah, that's him." And she just started crying. And she said, "That's my uncle, and we were really, really close. And he died last year." And I said, "Oh, he's just letting you know that he's here, obviously, because of what you've just been through. So don't second guess it." I'm jumping the gun here, but be aware that what you see is okay. And so yeah, that's just one of the experiences. So how do they communicate? It's not always in human words, right? Often it's just a thought in your head. It can be a feeling of being wrapped in love, like this energy coming down. And when you get to that place where you're starting to be aware, you've practiced a while, and you're aware of your vibration, and you're clean and clear with your vibration, you can start feeling the difference between, my dad comes to me these days, not that often. Though when I moved to Sydney, he was in the car with me, and I finally went, "What are you doing here?" Like, because I hadn't spoken to him for a long time. And he was saying, "It's going to be hard for you in Sydney, and I'm just letting you know that I'm here to support you," basically. So, and that was all through thoughts and a sense more than words coming to me. But I can tell the difference between my dad and what he feels like, or Archangel Michael, or Jesus, and they often, it comes in different parts of my body. So when you get used to the feeling, you can go, okay, so what does this feel like? Where is it in my body? Behind me, beside me, in front, whatever. Sometimes it's on the side, on your shoulders, that sort of thing. So thoughts can come through spontaneously and can be influenced by them. That's what I was saying before. Is it you that's having a thought, or is it that you're getting that dropped in? I remember when I was playing with all of this, I was living in Holloway's Beach, and I didn't feel like I knew how to cook very well. And so I remember thinking, how do I cook? How do I make something that's nutritious and a bit different? And I think it was the next night, I just started pulling stuff out of the cupboard, and I was putting it in, like stuff that I wouldn't have normally done. And I got to the end, and I've got this big stew going. And I'm thinking, wow, where did this come from? It looks amazing. And I have this realization that it was guided by, not a guide, it was actually somebody else that had guided me to create this beautiful dish that I made. And so sometimes what you think is you, it can be somebody else, or it can be a different energy vibration. They can communicate through things that illuminate to you. So a phrase in a book or a song, pay attention to, something that illuminates. And it's a little bit challenging to explain what illuminates means, but it just slightly stands out from the crowd in the book or in the song. Something comes out. Like, I know that I've been listening to some music lately, and when I wake up, one of the songs keeps repeating, this chorus keeps repeating in my head. And so I'm aware that I need to be aware of that and pay attention to that. And what does that mean to me right now? So they can be talking to you in various different ways, right? Dreams are another one. A lot of people know that guides and angels talk through dreams. White feathers. White feathers is something that angels tend to use. So if you see a white feather, that's often communication. And something that we're all experiencing at the moment, or most of us are experiencing, is the triple or repetitive numbers. I spoke to someone the other day. I said, I'm actually seeing repetitive numbers up to 5 times a day at the moment, which is just blows me out, because I've always seen repetitive numbers, but at the moment it's just like intense. It's amazing. So touch. When I first started, when I woke up, as they say, that's what happened. I actually went to a psychic, which she said, what are you doing here? You can do what I do. And I thought, yeah, that's what she says to everyone. You know, I wasn't right into them. Someone had hassled me to go. And when I actually spoke to my dad for the first time. And when I came home for 2 or 3 days, something would touch me. I'd have all these things touching my body, you know, and I'd turn around and nothing was there. And I ended up ringing her up and saying, what on earth's going on? I don't know what's going on. And she said, it's okay. They're all happy that you've woken up, right? I'm like, who's they? And what do you mean woken up? And can I come and see you again? And she said, no. She said, you'll work it out. And I went on this journey by myself, which now this is why I like doing the work that I do, because it was scary at times. I had no idea what was going on. And so to get someone to support you through the process is important. I'm blessed. I feel like I'm glad that I went through the journey the way I did. It was really hard to start with, but I'm really glad that I went through that and didn't get confused with some of the stuff that's out there. Visualizations in meditation. You could be meditating and get a visualization about something. And again, that's another thing that is communication, can be communication from your angels or guides. And if you're wondering which one it is, then just ask. Put the intention out. Is this angel? Is this a guide? Who's speaking? Some people, I don't get names. And if I put the intention out and kept on saying consciously that I can receive names, I'm sure I would. I just haven't focused on that. And so channeled writing is another one. You know, you can people can actually spend time meditating and then find themselves writing. I don't know if you've ever heard of the book Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. That's actually a whole channeled writing from he was in a really bad place and had lost his job, and I think he might have even lost his home at one stage. His family had left, all this stuff going on, and he was right at the depths of despair, and he got really, really angry and frustrated, and so he wrote this horrible letter to God, and right at the end, the pen wouldn't come out of his hand, and he just started writing, and he said, and it said, do you want the answers or are you just venting? And that was the very start of the 3 books. Well, it's more than 3 books, but there's 3 of Conversations with God. So orbs in photos are another one. If you've seen photos and you can see little orbs, sometimes it's the camera and other times it's actually energy beams that are surrounding you. I have seen photos with people in paddocks with just smothers of orbs. And I remember once when I was in the rainforest, someone wanted to take a photo, and so they took a photo of me, but then I wasn't ready for it, so they took another one. And in the first photo, you can see a purple orb coming down. And in the second one, it's right in front of me, like this beautiful purple orb all over my body, all over my third eye. And I've seen other ones as well, but that one was the most significant because you could see it coming in the first photo. Through spiritual animals. So sometimes you can have, I know people that have had a loved one pass, and when they see an owl, they know that that's the communication from their loved one. Or a particular animal comes to them and they feel that it's a connection to their loved one that's passed. So, beloved ones that have passed over can be identified as there is a more personal experience. So when you've had someone pass over, there's a more personal experience with the connection than an angel or a guide or something like that. So while I was doing this, so my dad is definitely one of my guides now. So one thing that can happen is when a loved one passes over, he can or she can become part of your team, sort of thing. I've got another guide that I actually didn't spend any time with. An angel card reader told me about this guy called Claude that I have been in a few lives with in France. And I just felt him come in as I said that, because I don't communicate with him, and I need to apologize to him every time I think of it. The other thing that happened while I was putting these slides together, I actually had a friend of mine that her daughter went to preschool with my son, and we became friends, and I always wondered why I was friends with her, because she was so different to me. She smoked like a chimney, she drank like excessively, she had hundreds of kids, she was just really rough compared to who I was, and yet we were really connected. And all the way through that journey, this spiritual understanding of who I was, or as I was learning about that, even though she didn't understand it, she was always there and would listen as I was going through. And she was my, soundboard as I was saying, this is happening and that's happening and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, when she was 44, she had a massive stroke, and she was on a life support for a while, and I couldn't get to her, and was the first person that I helped to transition. So I was up in Cairns and she was in Townsville, and they were waiting for her family to come so they could take her off life support. And through the process, I was actually working with her to help her transition out of her body, because when she first started, she was freaking out. She was jumping in and out of her body. But then as I went along, I had this moment where she was just really gently swirling on the top of the ceiling, and there was this vortex in the corner, and to this day, every time I think of that vortex, I've never felt so much patience, and like the feeling of eternal patience was amazing. And I knew that, not that I did want to go through, but I knew that I was not allowed to go through, that was for her, and that she had beings on the other side that she'd already communicated with, and that they were going to wait for as long as she was ready to go through. And I remember this moment when I had that, because, this is, I think our kids were 12 at the time, Curtis is 24. I remember saying to her, so Debbie, you lucky bitch, you went before me. And she said, yes, and it's everything that you've been sharing with me. And it was this beautiful validation. And at the same time, when her family came, I went in again energetically, and I thought that they got a priest to her, and she was not religious or Christian or anything like that. And because I saw this person put a cross on her head, and it illuminated. So when she passed, I went down to the funeral and met her family. Some of her family had come from various places. And I asked, did you get a priest to her? And they said, no. And I went straight into doubt, right? Like, oh my gosh, I made the whole thing up and blah, blah, blah. And her brother said, why did you ask that? And I said, oh, because I thought I saw, a priest, and he put a cross on her. And he said, oh, that was me. And he was Buddhist, and he put a cross on her. And I said, well, actually it illuminated. So that was, a confirmation way back then. So while I was doing these slides, I didn't realize, but Debbie is one of my guides. So she came through when I was doing these slides to let me know, because every so often, like very rarely, but every so often she comes in, and I didn't know she was a guide of mine. So they are in service to us. So angels work for God. they've never been human. So they protect and they guide us. And you've got to ask something of them. Because we've got free choice, you've got to ask whatever you're wanting, and then they can come and help you. So they sort of just hang around on the outskirts, and when you're wanting to ask, hey, you know, I know a lot of people say the car park angels, can you find me a car park, right? That's one of the things that a lot of people do. And so good morning, Irene. I did see you. I'm rushing now because I know it's 9 o'clock. So, you know, when you're talking to angels or you're asking angels, you've got to ask. Spirit guides are a little bit close to us, and they sort of can influence a little bit. So we still have to ask, but they sort of do a little bit of stuff on the, you know, like, hey, nudge, nudge, do this, or nudge, nudge, do that, right? So spirit guides are often, you've got a team, and sometimes they come and go depending on your development and their development. So some may be around you for a while and then they leave, and you get other ones. And so often they have shared lifetimes with you. And spirit guides can have specific abilities that you can call upon to support you in a particular level of success. So if you're, for example, you're a medical student, you'll often find that you've got spiritual guides that have been in the medical field to support you through that process, right? So spirit guides are a little bit more active than angels, and they're closer to you, which is what I just said. So these are the things you've got to remember. I know that I'm going over a little bit. Things to remember. Things are always lining up for you. It's something that you want to remember. Things are always lining up for me. Actually say it every morning. Things are always lining up for me, because conscious language, we've got the power of the tongue. Things are always lining up for me. And so when you're being guided by angels or being guided by your spirit guides, it's not always the path you think it's going to be. So often it can be convoluted. You might think that you're going, you know, from here to there, but you know, you've got to take a redirection to learn something along the way to get to the same place. I just spoke to a beautiful friend of mine on the phone, and yes, on the weekend, and she's just been through a process with her family, and she was looking at selling her house, and they all had a problem with it. And so they went through this process, and there was all this turmoil in the family. And through the process, she gets to this day, and she's starting to think about how she's moving stuff, and then has this realization she's not ready to move. She's always wanted the house to be done up a certain way, and she hasn't done that. So she decides to stay. And I was saying to her, if you hadn't have gone through those other steps, you may not have come to that. And she said, yeah, I actually do believe that. I needed to go through that journey to have that realization. So it's not often the way you think it's going to be, right? You've got to relax and allow. Pushing the process will stop the connection. Don't second guess it. Like I was saying about my massage experience, you know, don't second guess it. Where attention goes, energy flows, and that's where intention happens. So when you've got an intention to connect with a guide or connect with angels or whatever it might be, then that energy will create that. When you ask, it's given, right? They're all around you, guiding you all the time. You're never alone. It's just the way it is. Often people think, oh, I don't want to think about that when I'm on the toilet, right? It's just like, it's just the way it is. Often show up the way you can relate. So I remember my dad used to come through as my dad, but now that I've experienced him for a while, he's just an energy. Well, I actually don't really see him. He's an energy. So and once through a past life experience, I saw him as a totally different person. So follow the impulse. When you feel like someone's trying to connect with you, just follow that. and can be more than one person at a time as they're not in a physical form. So that's what I was talking about before with Archangel Michael. Because they're not in a physical form, they can be connected with more than one person. I'm rushing now, I think. Okay, so if anyone has is on the webinar and is unaware of my Elizabeth Eleanor, the Spiritual Warrior, which is my business page on Facebook, you can use that QR code to connect in with that page. And we always share all the stuff. It's like a shop front. We share everything that we're doing on that page. So you can jump in and click on that QR code. If anything resonates to you, or you're a bit confused, or you want to know a little bit more, you need some support, just put yes please in the chat here, and I can send you a link, a booking link, so that you can have a 30-minute free consultation, and we can discuss it a little bit further, what you want to do, or how things are working for you or not working for you. I'm here to support you in any way I can. So that's it for the end of the session. Thank you so much for sharing and being part of this. I have on Wednesday of this, oh, wait a minute, I haven't changed it on my slides. Not Wednesday, on Tuesday, we have an abundance meetup. So I've got, sorry guys that are watching the slides, I haven't changed it. I saw abundance and thought it was okay. On Tuesday at 6:30, we have a meetup all about abundance, because if you're on here and you're not aware, my Women of Light Facebook group has just turned 1 year old. And so we have a huge amount of prizes to give away. We've got competitions going. There's a whole exciting level of activity on there. We actually just finished a Facebook Live competition, and I'm going to jump in there soon and just share with everyone who won that. So this week it is, drum roll, Irene or Raya, can you tell me what our competition is? This week, the competition is, if you've got a woman in your life that you know could share or do with some lighting up, do with some lifting up, especially anyone in Melbourne. I know that Melbourne's having a real struggle at the moment. If you've got any friends that you think could benefit from Women of Light, jump in there and invite them to the page. So this week we've got two prizes. So if you go in and invite your friends to Women of Light, you go into the competition to win a prize, a mystery prize, and I think it's a $50 mystery prize. And if you are the woman that's invited the most people, then you get another prize too. And I'm actually considering a pretty big prize with that one. I'm not going to share what it is, but there's two prizes this week. So jump in there if you've got friends that you know could really benefit from lifting up. That page is full of positivity and beautiful energy. And if you invite friends, then you go into the raffle. The other one for the week after is the person that has done the most contribution and is the top contributor for the month will actually win a prize as well, and that's an $80 prize. So jump in there, share some of your wisdom, comment, because it's through Facebook that Facebook tells us who's the top contributor. So there's at the moment is Tam Yu. She actually had an amazing Facebook Live. If you go in and check out the Facebook Lives, Tam Yu is a beautiful woman that's also used to be a clown. I don't know if she's still clowning or not, but she's a magician and an amazing magician. And so she actually went in and did some magic tricks for us as part of our 12-month anniversary. So a whole heap of beautiful women. I feel absolutely humbled by the amount of women that went in there and celebrated and said thank you or happy first birthday. We had people with balloons, we had people with candles, we had all sorts of stuff going on, and it was so beautiful. So jump in there, check it out, and you'll be able to see and check out Tamu's Facebook Live. It was really, really cool. So take care, everyone. Have a beautiful, beautiful week, and I will see you next Monday. See ya. Bye, everyone on the... Wait a minute, let me see. Thank you, Liz. I have a similar experience with my team. Yeah, Christine, I knew you would. Shower is worse than toilet. Me too. Yesterday saw triple numbers and letters everywhere. Yeah. You might have seen my triple number car park on the weekend. Rebecca, sending love to you, hun. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for being on the webinar, and we will catch you next week. See ya.